When we're setting up the AGENTS.md markdown rules for an agentic tool, that it's tempting to load more and more stuff into it, but that actually hurts. It makes the whole process of augmented coding worse, not better. So is there a way we can make things shorter? We're not going to get into skills in this session, but let's just condense our initial set of rules. Also, a warning that saying don't do something is kind of like saying don't think about the pink elephant. See, it brings it to mind, and that's sort of what it does with these tools as well. So let's figure out how to do that less. Oh my gosh, I'm back. And you're here. Wow. I was gone for so long and so spotty before that I'm surprised any of you are here. Thank you for joining Mudshark, John, Irving, Garbob, and Junaid. Oh man. Good to have you all. I'm pretty excited. I've been looking forward to this time for a long time. What are we doing even? I hope you're all well. It has been a while. We don't have to get straight to business. I hope everyone is well. I'm back, and then my wife and I just made plans to visit her mother next weekend. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. Sorry about that, but family always comes first. Last time, an age ago, before I spent a month in Hawaii, we did a clean start. We wiped out the mastermind project. Well, actually, I put it in a work tree so that it's in a folder next door. Here, I can show you. Case sensitivity matters. So I actually have Mastermind, which is wiped out, and Mastermind 2025, which is the same repo, but it's a branch, side by side, so that we can refer to it if we want to. Part of the clean start was to keep all the build scripts and GitHub actions in place. And there's really nothing much there. Start again. Start again with a different emphasis. Oh, now I installed Tahoe yesterday because I was excited to use Xcode 26.3 because Xcode 26.3 can interface with different agentic genies, thingies. So of course I downloaded 26.3 only to discover that 26.3, just by getting it, doesn't give you the access to agentic LLMs that you actually need Tahoe to get this. Yeah. So here I am. Look at these lovely liquid ass rounded corners all over the place. So let's set this up while we're doing things. Oh, wait. Before we do, let's go into Mastermind. Because I have not done this yet. Part of what I want to do, what I've wanted to do, is try Claude. I've been using Windsurf a lot. I wanted to try Claude. Everyone's raving about it. I have the whole CLI experience. Only now I want to jump ahead and not use it. I want to get straight into Xcode, but let's set it up. I think my cookies are all in place. My sign in should still work. So let's see what it does. Okay. So you can tell this is actually I've done this far before many times, but I haven't gone any farther. This is cute. Dark mode is good for this terminal. I guess I just go like that. Login method. Yes. Here we are. Authorize. And cool. All right. Failed to install Marketplace. That must be where you can go get stuff. Like maybe there every place has everyone's writing skills now, and we'll get into that. Claude can make mistakes. Claude.md. I don't have one of those. And I thought that I could just use something called AGENTS.md, like everyone like is the standard. How the standard I say, but let's open a separate terminal. But I actually have like windsurf. There's my windsurf stuff. Let's start to port some of this over. But first, now that I'm happy that Claude can work from terminal, let's set it up here. Get that puppy. Shouldn't take too long. I keep checking to see if anyone is providing fiber internet in my neighborhood. The answer is no. Every time. Sign in here again. Probably pop up that page again. And that's a fine. Share. Nah. And it looks like we're live. All right. Okay, so we probably have folks here among you who have been using Claude before, first timer here. I want to set up my agent rules. Yeah. It's good to see you, Junaid, even if I can't see you. I'm good to be in touch. Anybody, I can do what this says and do the /init. That's probably a good idea to see where it makes stuff. Oh, interesting. Huh. So /commands. Nice, easy. I can see why geeks geeked out over Claude. Because, yeah, windsurf is cool. I like it. Other folks like Cursor because it's an IDE, and this is so old school with the terminal drawing and a terminal GUI, essentially. It's not, yeah, it's semi-graphical. It really feels like I've gone back in time. Let's set up a Claude MD and see where it does and what garbage it puts in. Oh, it found windsurf stuff. It's just looking through everything, I guess. Pondering. Now I have a good understanding of this project. Let me create the Claude MD file. My initial plans are to wipe it out. But let's see what it... You get a .claude with project settings, Claude MD in the root. Do you want to create? Yes, allow all edits during this session. Oh, is this to give it write permission? Wrote. Huh? Did it put this at the root? It did put Claude MD at the root. That's a surprise. I thought it would make it in, like you said, in a .claude. Especially now I'm wondering where am I going to put the skills and stuff. But let's see what we got. Now here's the thing. Once upon a time, we probably all shared a naive notion that these agentic coding things are great. You just have to provide it everything and maybe like all the rules, and so end up with something like this, where it's like, here's what some tips on Swift best practices. You know, I really need, I feel like I need something better than a text editor. If I'm going to be looking at Markdown a lot, I do have a Markdown. I thought I had a Markdown. Markdown? I've got a thing called Markdown. Let's see if we can get there. Developer. Ooh, so many things. Okay. Can I see it without the editor? There we go. That's more like what I was hoping for. Can I make it bigger? But that didn't increase the size of this. And I'm afraid this is too small for folks who are watching on a small screen. Okay, I'm going to have to revisit. I'm going to make a note that I want a better Markdown editor because we use Markdown a whole lot more these days. Isn't that funny? Let me quit this and let's go back Oh, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. I was saying it used to be a practice to say, analyze everything, specify everything. Here I'm going to specify things about Swift that I saw it was getting it wrong. And so here, here, let's use a construction builder with examples, lots of examples, advanced suggestions for growth. What? Clean, solid, blah, 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 300 lines. And now I know, thanks to the work by Lotta Kessler, Llewellyn Falco, that the most precious commodity when you're working with an agentic coding tool is the context window. That's RAM, basically. That all of that chews up tokens. And the more tokens you chew up, the worse off you'll be. A coworker of mine scoffed at me when I said how precious it was to save tokens, because he was like, Claude increased the window to 1 million tokens. And I'm like, and he said, you'll never write a prompt that consumes 1 million tokens. And that is misunderstanding a number of things. One is that all this stuff would go invisibly chew up tokens every time, but also that in the context of a chat, there is no chat. That's an illusion. There's no state in these things. Being a stateless engine, how does it work? Just like any other stateless thing, like a service you would write works. You externalize the state. And so every time, like if I type something here, hi. Hi. Okay. So now if I say something else, what is it sending? It's actually sending hi. And its response, hi, how can I help you with the mastermind project? Of course, that's very short, but every time this happens, every time I add a new prompt, it sends the whole thing back, the whole conversation back. And if you have lots of code spewing, if you have Xcode build logs all over the place, you're just going to chew that up. You're going to chew up your memory, and that you don't have to use up your memory in order for things to go bad. You just have to get past, I don't know what the guidance is these days, but I get worried when I get to past 50% of context window use. So in the root, let's see. Yeah, I don't see a dot file in that. It made a dot file in the root as I expected. They want this out and visible, I guess, right now. So we'll find out later on where the skills go. But all that to say, if we edit this, which I haven't checked in, and it's filled it with a bunch of stuff that it probably doesn't need to know. It pulled some of this from probably the README. And it figured out some things. Xcode inserts an unseen preamble of Apple platform knowledge. That's good to know. Thank you. Good, because that makes the experience good. Good to know, because that means you're chewing up, again, the context window. Like all this stuff, I don't want here at all. Especially now that we've started I don't know who pioneered this. I imagine it's the Anthropic folks with Claude. The whole skills thing, where instead of putting things into a giant agents.md or giant Claude MD, we want to make it small and call on things on demand, breaking things down into these folders, each skill with its own README. It's interesting and it's helpful. So let's start setting some of this stuff up. This is my old starting point, and I think the dot folder comes in with permissions you grant with local skills and MCP servers. Oh, speaking of MCP servers, I thought there was something. Yes, I want to turn this on. Please. If, like, I'm curious to see what that enables, and we won't find out today. But I want that on. I want Xcode to be able to do stuff. One of the things I really want to know is, can this view do smarter local builds without going out and talking to Xcode build? Like, can it just stay inside of Xcode and take care of stuff for me? But first, this is our old thing, and even this I've cleaned up more lately, but let me copy this. Let's see, Claude. I'm just going to copy all this. I'm going to wipe out everything it wrote here. We'll bring things back over time. But let's start here. And that's just a starting point. Because in another project of mine, I've trimmed it even more. Let's bring these up side by side. So there's Claude. So, pro tip. All this comes from Llewellyn Falco. This is where I got all this from, his great talk. And one thing I learned recently from something Kent posted, Kent Beck, is he did ran some experiments between laying out a bunch of, having a control where he didn't specify stuff, laying out a bunch of things about how to do coding, but also so there was the control, there was describing a bunch of principles, there was just saying code like Kent Beck. Because Kent's stuff is well known. Maybe not by programmers these days, but it is, his stuff is out there. It's, all the LLMs have chewed it up. And then the fourth was specifying things and saying code like Kent Beck. I tried it, and I discovered I could get rid of almost everything. In fact, let's try it right now. And we can do it on on here. Let's do it here. What does code like Kent Beck mean to you? Let's see what it says. Drunky slow. This is my first impression. So this is pretty interesting. Radical simplicity, write the code that works, not the code that you think you'll need. Tiny steps, embarrassingly small. Oh, I like that. The kind where you think, surely I can do more than this. Tests as a design tool, courage, separating concerns, code that communicates. So all of this essentially comes in by saying code like Kent Beck, and I could wipe out a bunch of stuff. Pretty funny, huh? Now, I did try code like John Reed, and it's like, who are you? It doesn't bring in Kent's latest book, Tidy First. So if you haven't read Tidy First yet, I do recommend it. Tidy First, as you can see, the main idea is to separate structural changes from behavioral changes and never mix the two. When I get sloppy, I mix them. It happens, right? But keep them got to keep them separated. So what else did I change? Once I learned that it was really important to trim this down, and I've been getting pretty good results from this. Then I went on a tear and started on with other things here. The context markers. This is the thing that makes process files work. Process files are the thing that lets you see, well, I guess it's not even necessarily about process files. It's about, it's a way of putting in the brown M&Ms that, suddenly blanking the name of the group. Rock group. Flashy 80s. Van Halen. The Van Halen's test of we must have brown M&Ms in our our ready room, our rest room, rest area. And in addition to all the heavy gear and equipment that they had to set up, and if they went into a place and there were like no M&Ms, then they would say, we're out of here. The show's not happening because you didn't pay attention to the details. This is like that, where we say, I want to start a character, and if that starter character doesn't come up, it makes me suspicious. Did you read anything? So, other things, be concise. I could not do justice to the scream that I want to do right now. Wow. Using voice. Oh, something else I've changed. I used to write me in here. Me and you. And I think this is confusing. It's because it's like, well, who's speaking? Is it me or is it it? because these are instructions that it reads. No brown M&Ms. Thank you. Not a bunch of brown M&Ms. Absolutely no brown M&Ms. You have to pick them all out. That was it. I became concerned about the who is me? Who is I in this case? And to make it so, had some chats where I asked an LLM, what do you think about this? How do we make it unambiguous? And so I've settled on the programmer, meaning me. You can draw the programmer's attention. This is handy. I'm just copying over some changes I've made in another project. But this voice stuff is handy. It doesn't usually kick in because I'm usually working in such small steps. But sometimes it'll run off, or sometimes there's something important. And so it can say, it can speak. And I think that is a great, cool trick that probably Llewellyn discovered. I'm probably going to trim a lot of these things, but let's put it in. Another thing that I just learned here, this example. Do not comment code. And of course, it goes off and comments code. There is a paper out that says they did some research into, I mean, we made this thing, but we don't really quite know how it works. You know, it's just sort of like add weights, make these connections between these terms, give points higher or lower to figure out what's going on. And what they discovered is when you say, do not comment code, that's kind of like saying, don't think about a pink elephant. So I'm probably going to rework this. In fact, we may just try it without. This is the part. Communicate meaning by writing clean, expressive code. And that might just come in by saying code like Kent Beck. I thought it was important to say, don't comment code, especially at work, where there are comments everywhere. It's quite annoying. And I thought it was important to have this do not comment code, and it still comments code. What Lotta Kessler does instead is to have a step in the process file. Now, process file is where you have one of these skills, basically, one of these README or markdowns that is brought in on demand, where it's following a set of steps that you have prescribed. And what I really like about it is it's like in communist Russia, you don't prompt it, it prompts you. You can have it prompt ask you questions. Mudshark going deep into the past. I will be pushing this up shortly. In fact, let me just push this up right now. Oop. Make sure I am in the right place. That is it. And what is it? This is low risk. So I'm going to start with the dot. Is this developer visible documentation? Is this environment? I'm not entirely sure what to call this stuff. What do you think? It's partly documentation, but it's documentation that's mostly not for the humans. I'm going to lean towards environment. Let me push this up. And what was the command? Well, it's low risk because it's in terms of I think. Okay, let's back up. Great question, Garbob. But it's like it's kind of like documentation for a programmer. It's just that there's now another thing that's doing programming as well as us. So it doesn't change the code. The code change is the risk area. Is there a risk of inflection? Boy, not if you're not unless you're really vibing and just pushing stuff without checking the code, which I don't think is a good idea. Unless you're not a coder. And even then, hopefully it's just for your own project and not for something that a bunch of people are going to be using. What was the command? Now I'm suddenly blanking out. No. Twitch commands Nightbot. That's the thing I use. There we go. So there you can go, because I did push, yeah? Yeah. You can go get it now, Kinetic Legend, and try it out yourself. It is a bare bones starting point, and it's probably something to make even simpler. Like, I don't care that it calls me John. In fact, I've never seen one of these things call me John before. We're friends? Some of the... Okay. Let's trim this down. Spent 2 weeks unknotting async code that an LLM generated best on poor training data. Oh, and uncertain instructions. Oh, yoy. Man, Bob. Oh, sorry to hear that. I don't know how much of this I really want anymore. Again, I started with most of it as a copy of what Llewellyn found was helpful for him, but also the tools have evolved since then. I think I'm inclined to wipe out most of it and bring back things as needed. Using voice I really like. Active partner, both Llewellyn and Lada talk about the importance of having the thing try to push back. And I have seen this. I have seen it occasionally give me this emoji and go, whoa, pay attention and even speak when there's something that is a clear mismatch between what it thinks it's not thinking. Don't flatter the programmer. I don't care that it's charming and nice. Be very honest. Tell them something they need to know, even if they don't want to hear it. Lotta swears by this one. The programmer will help you not make mistakes, and you'll help them. You have full agency here. Well, not quite. Pushback. Flag unclear. Be proactive. See, so much of this seems like repetition to me. I've never seen it say, I don't know. Never, ever. Because that seems to run completely against the way these things work. So let me trim this up a bit. Things like caps, I'm not convinced, or like doing markdown like that. Not sure that it makes a difference, especially with what I just read about don't think about a pink elephant. Even don't flatter the programmer. If we can get away from don'ts, what else is here? Flag unclear but important points before they become problems. Be proactive in letting the programmer know so we can talk about it and avoid the problem. Ask questions if something is not clear and you need to make a choice. Don't choose randomly. It's important for what we're doing. A lot of this, I think, is also about me, the prompter, learning to work better. And there is a tool I want to give you. The Chiron Codex Patreon. This is, so in addition to Lada's great stuff and Llewellyn's great stuff, I've been learning a ton from my friend Graham. The Patreon is access to his stuff on how to, he calls it a centaur, how to become really augmented so that we become better programmers by working with AI instead of just vibing, or instead of just using it as a tool to keep doing what we're doing, that we actually improve. That's his vision. And as part of that, he has released a Chiron Codex. Hang on a second. Let's see what's out here. Here we go. I'm going to share this. The big part of this is his patterns. Yeah, we're starting to hear about this, right? That brain rot is a thing. The patterns are things like let's see if there's one here. I guess there are, oh, here. This is one that I was thinking of. I don't know if you're familiar with patterns. There's the design patterns book, which is still relevant. Don't dismiss it. But the design patterns book, the Gang of Four design patterns, is just one example of, and it was a breakthrough example of creating a pattern language. A pattern language is where each, well, here, let's look at ask for alternatives. There is a template to these things that each pattern follows. What's the intent? What's the motivation? When is it applicable? What are the consequences of doing it? How do you do it? And an example. And related patterns. So this is this particular pattern that I was hoping to share in relationship to this. Don't just choose randomly. Well, maybe that's on me, on us, the programmer, to say, no, we should ask for alternatives. So check out the Chiron Codex. The Patreon has a early bird subscription that is going right now. So if check it out, see if it's interesting. If it's something you want to support, then join sooner rather than later so that you get the cheaper pricing. So part of the beauty for me of pattern language, and I have so many books with different that are pattern languages. The domain-driven design book is a pattern language. XUnit test patterns is a pattern language. Refactoring itself has the thing I love about these things is that they refer to other things. So, for example, you can usually ask for alternatives after you disclose ambiguity. Now, this one's not live yet. It's only to those of us who are subscribers that it is that some of these are available. They eventually roll out, but that we get the early shot at them. But eventually, you'll be able to just click around on these. Ask for alternatives, or what's disclose ambiguity, or what's just ask. And the fact that each one follows a template makes it very easy to understand what's going on. Start with clean slate when you move from exploring alternatives to implementation. This is very important. So you find alternatives, and now you decide on which approach you want to use, and then it's time for clean slate. Clear out the context before continuing so you don't waste memory. So all this stuff in the Chiron Codex library, which is part of my friend Dr. Graham Lee's stuff that he is putting out now, that he has managed to escape the restrictions of working under the heavy glove of Apple, and he's a free man now. So that makes me think, how important is it to say this when it's important for us as programmers to learn to ask for things? So I'm going to try living without it. And if some of these things become squishy? We'll find out as we go. But my goal here is to reduce the size of this. So let's see, be very honest. Flag unclear but important points before they become problems. That might still be important. Important, do not comment code, even if comments are already present. You know what? I'm going to try it without. Let's see if code like Kent Beck picks it up. Honestly, this one line by itself is magic. Try it in your agent. And this is a summary that I created of the Tidy First book. Never mix structural and behavioral changes. Always make, again, not sure about this never business. Validate that structural changes do not alter behavior by running tests before and after. All right, let me try this much. Oops. Again, I'm going to mark this as an environment change. Make shorter. Now, how do we clear? I think I say clear. And now let me say hi. See what it does. And I'm feeling lucky, because that is the starter character showing that it has read these instructions and is following it. My brown M&Ms. What do we want to do next time? Let's take some notes on this session before we think about next time. What did we do? We too bad that it requires Tahoe, but it does. Oh. This. Try it. I'm calling it AGENTS.md because it's not about Claude. This is about how you work with these tools. Shorter, not longer. What do we want to do next time? Next Sunday, I'll be visiting my mother-in-law, so I won't be around. We should think about the classes and structs that we need for the project. Don't rush in. There's an approach that I want to do that I've started with another project, and I am really liking it so far, even though it hasn't made it to the UI side yet. And that is to put all non-UI parts inside a Swift package. And then the goal is that the Swift UI becomes as thin as possible to just talk to this thing. So that's my goal, but that's a good idea. Let me note that. It's not so much about the classes, it's about, let's do a little bit of modeling. I mean, it is. It's do a little bit of CRC, class responsibility collaboration. Let me note that. I don't whoop. So we are starting over inside out. Don't rush in. Think about models. This is another thing I want to do. Probably before we start coding. This maybe is what we should do 2 weeks from now. I love discovery trees. I think they are such a great tool for breaking work down and being able to visualize how complex is it, how deep, how wide does the tree go, what's in progress. And these agentic tools, they do an okay job of creating their own plans, but it's better to externalize them under our own control. The Chiron Codex has a pattern about that. But what I want is not just a markdown to-do list. I want something that gives this same feedback about what's in progress. Ideally, I want it to work for both for people and for LLMs, and I want the AI to be able to update stuff or create new nodes in a tree. I'd like to be able to figure this out. So that is the goal for next time, I think. Woo! See, how wild would that be? Or will Mermaid be enough? Like, I don't want it to be tied to Miro. What if we use Mermaid? I know that Graham, the Chiron Codex author, he uses a thing, a little task server. I forget what it was called. But this is the heart of what I want to do next time. Some sort of textual representation of discovery trees. Ideally serving both people and agents. And can we make, especially if, remember I wanted a markdown editor. It'd be great if I had a markdown editor that supports Mermaid. Right? Because then I could see it. I could see the graphs and charts, or I could create a tree. That might be something. Okay, I'm going to explore this. If you know of any tool that does this, I think I just saw this guy who does lots of Mac and iOS YouTubes, Stuart, older guy like me. He uses a tool that I think does markdown. MD editor. Check that out. And hey, if it's worth paying for, it's worth paying for. Mermaid editor. Huh. I see. Mermidiger. Thank you. All right. That's it. It is time. That's enough for one session. I hope this was good, and this is going to be a lot of fun to approach this project again from doing it in a style where we, instead of rushing in from the UI, we are going to start outwards. So do join again in 2 weeks. For folks who are watching this after the fact on YouTube, give it a like, give it a subscribe so that you know when you get more of my stuff, and to help the like helps get the word out, because algorithms. All right, take care. I will see you. Until then, stay cool. Don't freak out. Might be online only. Okay, thanks. Let's not let the idiots of this world get us down, and eventually things will get better. Okay, take care. See ya. 2 weeks.